Let's go now to the UK, though, where we have seen overnight the arrest of Peter Mandelson. He's the man who recommended the former Duke of York be made a UK Troid envoy. Lord Mandelson's a member of the House of Lords. He's also a former Labor cabinet minister in the governments of Tony Blair and Gordon Brown. He's now been arrested on suspicion of misconduct in public office for allegedly sharing information with Jeffrey Epstein. Here to tell us more, Sky News contributor and our European correspondent for News Corp, Sophie Elsworth. Sophie, I tell you what, almost every single day there's front pages and arrests and stories still emanating from Jeffrey Epstein. We've got both Mandelson now and Andrew Mountbatten Windsor on the same charge. Now, in addition to the police investigations, and they're ongoing, are they facing pressure to front any of these investigations into Epstein that are on foot? We know they are in the Congress in the United States, but elsewhere. What's happening with the public mood on this?
Well, the public mood is not good here, Peter. The British public are very annoyed about this. We can just see here on the front pages today, on the front of the Sun, it's saying things can only get sweatier here for Mandelson. And on the Daily Mail, now Mandelson faces the music. I mean, this is really damaging for Sir Keir Starmer because he is the one that appointed Peter Mandelson to this role. So there's questions being asked on how did this happen? How did he get in this role in the first place? And there are documents due to be released that looks at how this appointment happened. So there's a lot more information to come out. But I must stress, Peter, in both the case with Andrew Mountbatten Windsor and Lord Mandelson, no charges have yet been laid.
Where's Keir Starmer in all of this? Because the early reports I had read were he looks to have circumvented the usual processes to appoint Mandelson. Is this going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back?
It may well be, Peter, because there's a lot of pressure on him on how on earth did he appoint this man, given it was widely known that Lord Mandelson maintained his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. And it was all documented. It was out in the public domain before he was appointed to this position. So questions are being asked of Keir Starmer on how on earth did it get to this point? This is hugely embarrassing. There's a by-election coming up on the weekend here in the UK, which is very important for Labor. And then we've got elections in Scotland and Wales coming up. So the next few months will be very trying for the Prime Minister, who is doing very poorly in the polls here, I might add as well.
And of course, the former Prince has spent his whole life inside the royal family and under enormous scrutiny and often accompanied by security details everywhere he has gone. So there'll be interest in what the former police security detail heard or saw. And you've spoken, I understand, to a former head of Scotland's Royal Yard, the protection team at Scotland Yard for the Royals, who was in command there from 94 to 98. He said he's been calling for a formal investigation into Mountbatten Windsor for years, Sophie. How's that not happened? What's he been able to tell you?
Well, I spoke exclusively to Di Davies yesterday, who was the boss of the former Royal Protection Command from 1994 to 1998. And he said he's been calling this for many years for a formal investigation, particularly after the release of that image of Andrew Mountbatten Windsor with Virginia Giuffre back in 2001. And he also spoke about this shortly after that infamous BBC Newsnight interview that Andrew Mountbatten Windsor did with Emily Maitlis. But he said to me that basically Andrew Mountbatten Windsor is guilty 10 times over in the court of public opinion. Now, I must stress he's always denied any wrongdoing, but this is awfully shaky ground for Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, and whether charges are laid against him and Lord Mandelson, we can only wait and see, Peter.
Yeah, look, this whole debate about the royal succession is number 8. He's hardly likely to ever get the throne, but fine, take him out of the royal succession. Legislation will have to be passed in places like Australia, I get that. But, I mean, I see this domestically, Sophie, as a distraction for our Prime Minister, who is really in trouble over these Islamic State women. But in addition to Andrew, there's been a lot of focus on Fergie. Do we know what's happened to her? Because she reads very badly in the Epstein files as well.
She does, Peter. She looks terrible out of all of this as well, but she seems to have gone into hiding. She hasn't been seen in public since December. There were reports that she was at a Swiss mental health clinic, which was some exorbitant amount. I think it was about $20,000 a night. She was checked into there over the month of January, but she's nowhere to be seen. And we know they've been joined at the hip for decades, even though they are divorced. So more will certainly come out about her, I suspect.
All right, I'll leave it there. Thank you, Sophie.